Imagine this. You tuck your child into bed, and by morning, the room is empty, vanished without a trace. Today, we're looking at the tragic case of an 11-year-old girl who disappeared from her bedroom just days before Christmas. The search for her would bring together more than 3,000 people. But what investigators uncovered was both heartbreaking and shocking. This case remains one of the most chilling I've ever covered. If you're drawn to true crime stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more. Sarah Foxwell was born on May 18, 1998, in Salisbury, Maryland. She came from a large family with 2 sisters and 4 brothers. Her mom had 3 more children from a previous marriage, so Sarah grew up surrounded by siblings. After her parents divorced, her mom had to raise all of them on her own. She worked long hours, which meant the kids often stayed with relatives. Sarah, being the middle child, naturally took on the role of peacemaker. Whenever her brothers and sisters fought, she was the one who tried to calm everyone down. She had a cheerful personality and always tried to keep her family close. By December 2009, Sarah was 11 years old and temporarily living with her aunt and grandparents. Christmas was right around the corner, and her mom was working extra shifts to afford presents for all the kids. Her aunt's farmhouse, just outside of Salisbury, was the perfect place for the children. It was spacious, and they loved playing there. On December 22, only 3 days before Christmas, everything seemed normal. The kids were excited, running around the house, full of holiday spirit. That evening, her aunt ordered pizza for dinner, and by 9 p.m., everyone was getting ready for bed. Sarah shared a room with her 6-year-old sister, Emma, at the end of the hallway near the back door. The sisters chatted a little before falling asleep. The next morning, Sarah's grandfather went to wake them up, but when he entered their room, only Emma was in bed. At first, he thought Sarah was already up, but after searching the entire house, he realized she was gone. He alerted Sarah's aunt, and together they searched every corner, but Sarah was nowhere to be found. Her aunt briefly thought Sarah might have gone outside to play in the fresh snow, but then she noticed that Sarah's jacket and shoes were still at home. Even more unsettling, Sarah's toothbrush was missing from the bathroom. After a frantic search, her aunt called Sarah's mother, who rushed over, and the police were immediately contacted. Officers arrived within minutes. Sarah's aunt explained that she always checked every door and window before going to bed, and she had done so the night before. But when police tried the back door near Sarah's room, it opened easily. Her aunt insisted she had locked it. That's when she remembered something chilling. The family kept the spare key hidden outside, and now it was gone. This strongly suggested an abduction by someone who knew the family well. Another disturbing clue. Sarah's dog, who always barked at strangers, hadn't made a sound that night. News spread quickly, and fear grew that Sarah had been kidnapped. Authorities launched a massive search, calling in officers from neighboring towns and even other states. Local residents poured in to help. The sheriff went on TV, asking people to check their properties for anything unusual. Soon, investigators got their first lead: fresh tire tracks in the snow outside the house, showing that the abductor had likely used a car. Since Sarah's warm clothes were still inside, it was clear she hadn't left on foot. At the same time, police brought Sarah's relatives in for questioning. That's when Emma, her 6-year-old sister, quietly told her grandmother that she had a secret. She had seen the man who took Sarah. Emma explained that she woke up during the night and saw a man whispering to her sister. Scared, she pretended to be asleep, but saw him walk out of the room with Sarah. When asked if she knew who it was, Emma answered without hesitation, "It was Mr. Tommy." The family instantly knew she meant 30-year-old Thomas "Tommy" Leggs, the ex-boyfriend of Sarah's aunt. He had spent a lot of time at their home, and all the kids knew him. Police also knew him well. Thomas had an extensive criminal history. At just 18, he was jailed for assaulting a 12-year-old girl and sentenced to 4 years, but was released early after only months. Not long after, he was sentenced to 7 years for another assault, but again released after just 6 months for good behavior. Over the years, he was repeatedly arrested for crimes against women and children, often serving shockingly short sentences. One particularly disturbing incident happened the very day his wife returned from the hospital with their newborn daughter. Thomas tried to assault another girl. His wife divorced him and filed a restraining order, saying he had threatened to kill her and their baby. Another time, he approached 2 little girls on a porch, called one of them Wild, then struck her with a stick. That girl's mother later realized Thomas was already listed on the sex offender registry. Just months before Sarah's disappearance, Thomas had been arrested again, this time for breaking into a 24-year-old woman's bedroom at night. He undressed and pleasured himself while standing next to her bed. Even then, he was released on bail. When detectives questioned Sarah's aunt, she admitted that at first she didn't know about his criminal past. Later, she found out, but Thomas had convinced her the charges were lies. Given all this, investigators were convinced Thomas was the prime suspect. Family members also remembered that when he was dating Sarah's aunt, Thomas seemed unusually focused on Sarah, spending far more time with her than the other kids. Police brought him in for questioning and searched the shed where he lived on his parents' property. The place was filthy and filled with adult magazines and DVDs. But they didn't find Sarah. During the interrogation, Thomas denied everything. He even laughed and mocked investigators, acting as though he had committed the perfect crime. He offered an alibi, saying he had been at a bar with a friend all night. The alibi checked out, but only up until 1 a.m. After that, no one saw him until 7 a.m. Soon, police found stronger evidence. Inside his pickup truck, they discovered Sarah's green toothbrush and a large lollipop, possibly used to lure her. The tire tracks at the house also matched his truck. Despite his lies, detectives were closing in. The search for Sarah continued with huge public support. Helicopters, canine units, and thousands of volunteers combed through forests, abandoned buildings, and rivers. The effort grew so large, 3,000 people in total, that the sheriff had to move the command center to a baseball stadium. On Christmas morning, December 25, search teams focused on an area about 8 miles from Sarah's aunt's home, guided by cell phone tower data from Thomas's phone. Around 4 p.m., they made a devastating discovery. Sarah's body was found near the state border. She was lying on her back, her arms raised toward the sky. Medical examiners confirmed she had been sexually assaulted, strangled, and when that didn't kill her, Thomas tried to drown her in a puddle. Afterward, he left her in the woods, returned with gasoline, and set her on fire. Traces of smoke in her lungs showed she was still alive at that moment. The brutality of the crime horrified even veteran detectives. The community was shattered. Forensic testing left no doubt about Thomas's guilt. Sarah's DNA was found on his clothing, and her hairs and pajama fibers were in his truck. The case dragged on for over a year, but in early 2011, prosecutors offered Thomas a plea deal. Plead guilty and serve 2 life sentences without parole instead of facing the death penalty. This decision angered many, but there were reasons. Prosecutors wanted to spare Emma, who had already endured so much, from having to testify again and again in front of her sister's killer. There was also concern that if a jury rejected the death penalty, Thomas might someday walk free. Thomas eventually admitted everything: how he lured Sarah from the house, assaulted her, and killed her. He was sent to a maximum security prison. Within days, another inmate attacked him with a homemade weapon. He survived, but remained isolated for his own protection. Sarah's death sparked outrage at how many times the system had allowed Thomas to be released early. In response, Maryland passed Sarah's Law, requiring that anyone convicted of child abuse serve at least 15 years in prison before becoming eligible for parole. Sarah's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers posed by repeat offenders and the need to protect children. Thank you for listening. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.